text message from my brother Steve felt like a slap across the face. Family meeting at Mom's tonight. Discussing selling the house. Don't worry about coming. Don't worry about coming. 4 words that summed up my entire relationship with my family. I'm Mia, and at 32, I'm still the family disappointment. The black sheep. The one who chose art over law school, tattoos over tennis lessons, and apparently all the wrong ways to exist in the pristine world of the Morris family. I stared at my phone for a full minute before calling Samara. "They're selling the house," I said when she picked up, "and they didn't even bother to invite me to the discussion." "What?" Samara's voice crackled with indignation. "That's your childhood home too." "Yeah, well, tell that to Steve and his executive decision-making skills." I paced my small apartment, the one they all looked down on because it wasn't in the right neighbourhood. "You know what? I'm going anyway." "Girl, yes!" Samara cheered. "Show up and show out." The drive to my mother's house took 20 minutes, each passing landmark stirring memories I thought I'd buried. The maple tree where I broke my arm, the corner store where I sold my first painting, the weathered fence I helped Dad paint the summer before he died. I parked across the street, watching shadows move behind the living room curtains. My hands trembled as I killed the engine. Through the window I could see them all gathered there. Mom in her favourite armchair, Steve standing by the fireplace like some corporate commander, Brinley perched on the sofa's edge, and Luke slouched in the corner, probably scrolling through his phone. The front door wasn't locked. It never was during family meetings. I slipped inside quietly, their voices carrying from the living room. "The market's perfect right now," Steve was saying. "We could easily get $750 for it." "But all our memories are here," Luke protested weakly. Brinley's laugh cut through the air. "Memories don't pay property taxes, Luke. Neither does sentimentality," my mother added, her voice thin but sharp as ever. "Your father would want us to be practical." I stepped into the doorway. Funny how Dad always taught us that family comes first, but here you all are, making decisions without the whole family present. The room froze. 4 heads snapped toward me with varying degrees of surprise and annoyance. "Mia," Mum said, her lips pursing like she'd tasted something sour. "We didn't expect you." "Clearly." I moved into the room, claiming the empty chair nobody ever sat in. "So, we're selling the house." Just like that. Steve straightened his tie, always with the power moves. "This doesn't really concern you, Mia. You've made it clear where your priorities lie. By not becoming a lawyer like you, or by not marrying the banker Mom picked out for me." I met his gaze steadily. "This is my home too." "A home you barely visit," Brinley chimed in, twirling her perfect blonde hair. "When was the last time you even came to Sunday dinner?" "The last time I was actually invited," I shot back. 3 years ago. "Because you brought that woman," Mom said, waving her hand dismissively. "That woman was my girlfriend, and her name was Rachel." Luke finally looked up from his phone. "Can we not do this right now? We're supposed to be discussing the house." "Right," Steve took control again. "Tegan's already drawn up the preliminary paperwork. We'll list it next week, split the proceeds 4 ways. 5, I interrupted. 5 ways. The silence that followed was deafening. "Don't be ridiculous," Mom finally said. "You haven't contributed anything to this house's upkeep in years. I offered, multiple times. You all refused my money, remember?" Steve stepped forward, his shadow falling over me. "Look, Mia, this is happening whether you like it or not. The decision's been made." I stood up slowly, my mind racing ahead to possibilities I hadn't considered before walking in. "You're right, Steve. The decision has been made." I turned to leave, then paused in the doorway. "But maybe not the way you think." "What's that supposed to mean?" Brinley called after me. I didn't answer. My fingers were already typing a message to Samara as I walked out. "I need your help. Time to show them what the black sheep can do." Behind me, I could hear them resuming their discussion. probably already dismissing my presence as another dramatic Mia moment. But for the first time in years, I felt something other than hurt when they ignored me. I felt powerful. Because while they sat there planning how to divide their precious inheritance, I was about to change the game entirely. They wanted to sell the house. Fine. They just didn't know who was going to buy it. You want to what? Samara nearly choked on her coffee. We were sitting in her kitchen the morning after the family meeting, and I'd just shared my plan. I'm going to buy the house, I repeated, more confident this time, and I need your help figuring out how. Girl, you're an art teacher. How are you going to afford a $700,000 house? I pulled out my laptop, opening the spreadsheet I'd stayed up all night creating. Dad left me that trust fund they don't know about. Samara's eyes widened. The one he set up secretly before he died? Yeah, it's been gathering interest for 10 years. I never touched it because... I swallowed hard, remembering that last conversation with Dad. He said to save it for something that really mattered. A memory flashed through my mind, Dad in his study, looking tired but determined. They'll try to make you fit their mould, sweetheart, he'd said. This is your safety net. Use it wisely. Earth to Mia. Samara waved her hand in front of my face. How much is in there? Almost 300,000. I turned the laptop to show her. And I've got another 100 saved from my art sales. Still not enough. That's where you come in. I took a deep breath. Remember that investment property you inherited from your aunt? The one you've been trying to sell? Samara's face lit up with understanding. You want to use it as collateral for a loan. If you're willing to help... She grabbed my hand across the table. Girl, after watching how they treat you, I'd co-sign your loan to buy the whole damn block. My phone buzzed. A text from Luke. Hey, sis, about last night. Ignore him, Samara advised, reading over my shoulder. Focus on the plan. What's your next move? I need to contact Tegan without anyone knowing. She's handling the sale, but she's also been our family lawyer forever. Can you trust her? Before I could answer, another memory surfaced. Tegan at Dad's funeral pulling me aside. Your father asked me to look out for you, she'd said. If you ever need anything... I picked up my phone. Only one way to find out. The meeting with Tegan happened 2 days later in a coffee shop across town. Her eyebrows shot up when I explained what I wanted to do. A blind bid through a shell company. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Mia, that's completely legal, I finished. I checked. Yes, but your family doesn't deserve to know who's buying it until the deal is done. I met her gaze steadily. Dad always said business is business. Tegan sat back, a slow smile spreading across her face. He did say that, didn't he? And technically, I'm representing the seller, your mother, not the individual family members. So, you'll help? I'll do better than that. She pulled out her tablet. The family's expecting lowball offers because of the market. They're prepared to accept anything over $650. My heart raced. With Samara's help and my savings, that was actually possible. My phone lit up again, this time Brinley. Mum's upset about your little scene. You should apologise. I turned the phone face down. How soon can we move on this? I can have the paperwork ready by Friday. Tegan paused. Are you sure about this, Mia? It's going to cause quite a storm. They caused the storm, I said quietly. I'm just riding it out. Later that night, I found myself driving past the house again. The porch light was on, Mom's routine, just like when we were kids. Through the window I could see her in her chair, probably reading one of her mystery novels. A tap on my car window made me jump. It was Luke. I rolled down the window. What are you doing out here? Could ask you the same thing. He leaned against my car. You okay? For a moment I almost told him everything. Luke had always been the kindest, even if he never stood up to the others. I'm fine, I said instead. Just... remembering. Remember that time you painted stars on my ceiling? He smiled. Mom was so mad, but Dad said it was better than wallpaper. Yeah, I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Dad had a way of seeing things differently. Listen, about the house. Don't, Luke. I started the engine. What's done is done. As I drove away, I caught his reflection in my rearview mirror, standing there looking lost. Part of me felt guilty, but another part, the part that remembered years of exclusion and judgment, knew this was the right move. My phone buzzed with a text from Tegan. Paperwork's ready early. Meeting tomorrow? I smiled in the darkness. Game on. Blue Haven Properties. I read the incorporation papers Tegan had prepared. That's what we're calling my shell company. Your father used to say the house was his Blue Haven, Tegan said, sliding the documents across her desk. Seemed fitting. My throat tightened. Dad always did have a way with words. Now, Tegan continued all business, we need to move fast. Your brother Steve is already pushing for a quick sale. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. Hey sis, Mom wants to know if you're coming to dinner Sunday. Try to be civil this time. I ignored it. What's our timeline looking like? The house goes on the market Monday, but here's where it gets interesting. Tegan leaned forward. Steve's been bragging to anyone who'll listen that they won't take less than $750. But you said that they'd accept $650? Yes. Steve doesn't know that. He's trying to drive up interest by playing hardball. I couldn't help but laugh. Typical Steve, outsmarting himself. My phone rang. Samara this time. I put her on speaker. Girl, you better get down to the house, she said without preamble. Your sister's here doing a walkthrough with some realtor. My heart stopped. What? It's not supposed to be listed yet. Well, somebody better tell Brinley that. She's giving the full tour, talking about modernizing everything. I grabbed my keys. I'm on my way. Want me to stall them? No, I said, an idea forming. Let me handle this. 15 minutes later, I pulled up to the house. A sleek BMW was parked in the driveway. Definitely not Brinley's usual ride. I walked in to find my sister in the kitchen with a man in an expensive suit, gesturing at the vintage cabinets Dad had restored himself. All this would have to go, of course, Brinley was saying. It's so dated. Actually, I interrupted, those cabinets are hand-restored black walnut from 1920, worth about $40,000 on today's market. They both turned. Brinley's face darkened. Mia, what are you doing here? I live nearby, saw the car. I extended my hand to the suite. I'm Mia, the family's resident art expert. And you are? James Harrison, he said, shaking my hand. Your sister was just showing me the property's potential. Oh, I bet she was. I ran my hand along the cabinet's smooth surface. Did she tell you about the original hardwood floors under this laminate, or the hand-painted ceiling murals in the upstairs bedrooms? James's eyes lit up. Murals? Mia, Brinley cut in sharply. Don't you have somewhere to be? Not really. Would you like to see the murals, James? I painted them myself. Before Brinley could object, I was leading James upstairs. In Luke's old room, the stars I'd painted still glowed faintly in the afternoon light. Remarkable, James murmured. The detail work is extraordinary. The whole house is like this, I said. Little touches of history and art everywhere. It'd be a shame to gut it. Brinley appeared in the doorway, fuming. James, perhaps we should continue this another time. After James left, Brinley rounded on me. What the hell was that? Just sharing some family history. You scared off a potential buyer. Did I? I smiled sweetly. Or did I just increase the property's value by about $100,000? Her face went red. You have no right. To what? Care about the house? Know its worth? I headed for the stairs. By the way, you might want to tell Steve his $750 asking price is way too low. I was almost at the front door when Brinley called out, Why are you really here, Mia? I turned back. Maybe I just want what's best for the house. Since when? Since always. I paused. You know, Brinley, just because you don't see something doesn't mean it isn't there. Outside, I texted Tegan, "How soon can we submit the bid?" Her response came quickly. "Paperwork's ready, but after that stunt, they might raise the asking price." I smiled, remembering James's fascinated expression. Good. Let them think they're in control. Another text popped up, this one from Luke. "Steve's pissed. Says you're interfering with the sale." I typed back, "Just protecting Dad's legacy." And I was, just not in the way they expected. Let them think I was being difficult. Let them dismiss me as the troublemaking artist again. They'd find out soon enough who really understood the value of home. 3 bids already? Steve's voice carried through the open window as I pretended to check my mail. And they're all over asking price. I lingered by the mailbox, heart pounding. After my stunt with James last week, the house's listing had generated more interest than my siblings expected. "The one from Blue Haven Properties looks particularly promising," Tegan was saying. "They're offering $790 all cash." "Who are they?" Mum's voice, suspicious, as always. "An investment group, very discreet, very legitimate." I smiled, remembering the hours Samara and I had spent creating a convincing business profile. The doorbell rang, making me jump. "I'll get it," Brinley called out. I ducked behind the large oak tree just as she opened the door. A familiar figure stood there, James Harrison. "I've reconsidered my position," he announced, stepping inside. I crept closer to the window. 800,000, James was saying. "But I want to preserve the historical elements. Those murals, the woodwork, they're extraordinary." "The murals?" Mom scoffed. "Mia's teenage rebellion?" "Actually," James replied, "those murals alone could qualify the property for historical preservation status. They're quite valuable." Silence fell over the room. I wished I could see their faces. My phone vibrated. Samara calling. I answered in a whisper. "Can't talk now. Spying." "Girl, get over here now! There's a problem with the loan paperwork." My stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that could blow your cover. The bank needs..." Steve's voice rose again, cutting through my conversation. "We should take James's offer. It's the highest, and he's clearly serious about the property." "Let's not be hasty," Tegan cautioned. "Blue Haven's offer is solid, and they're ready to close immediately." I ended the call with Samara and sprinted to my car. 20 minutes later, I burst into her kitchen where she sat surrounded by papers. "The bank wants proof of employment from all parties," she said without looking up, "including the shell company's directors. But that's us, me, you, and the fake CEO we created." She pushed her hair back frantically. "They're going to figure it out, Mia." I dropped into a chair. "There has to be a way." "There is." She slid a document across the table. "I can restructure my investment property under the company name. Make it look like we have more assets." "Samara, no, that's too risky for you." "Too late. Already did it." She grinned. "The paperwork's being processed now." I stared at her. "Why would you..." "Because I've watched these people hurt you for years." She grabbed my hand. "And because you'd do the same for me." My phone buzzed with a text from Luke. "Mom's asking weird questions about your art. Something about historical value." Then another from Brinley. "Since when are your stupid stars worth anything?" And finally one from Steve. "We need to talk about your interference with the house sale. This ends now." "They're panicking," I told Samara. "James's offer made them realise they undervalued everything I added to the house." "Good." She started gathering the papers. "Let them sweat." "But Mia..." She hesitated. "Are you ready for what happens when they find out?" Before I could answer, my phone rang. Tegan. "They're calling a family meeting," she said when I answered. "Tomorrow night, they want to discuss the offers." "All of them?" "Steve's pushing hard for James's bid. But your mother..." "She's asking questions about Blue Haven. Good questions." My hands started shaking. Questions like what? Like why a company she's never heard of would offer so much for a family home. Like why they're so eager to close quickly. Tegan lowered her voice. Like why the timing coincides with your sudden interest in the sale. She knows? She suspects, Mia, if you want to back out. No, I straightened up. No backing out, not now. After hanging up, I looked at Samara. Tomorrow night, they're deciding. Then we better make sure our bid is ironclad. She reached for her laptop. Because, girl, this is going to be one hell of a family meeting. I picked up a photo from her counter, one of me and Dad in front of the house, paintbrushes in hand, both of us laughing as we worked on the porch trim. You okay? Samara asked softly. Yeah, I set the photo down. Just ready for them to finally see me. My phone lit up one more time. Mom, dinner tomorrow, 6 p.m. sharp. Don't be late. We need to discuss your recent behaviour. I showed Samara the text. She smiled wickedly. Oh, they have no idea what's coming, do they? No, I replied, a mixture of dread and excitement building in my chest. They really don't. I sat in my car outside the house, watching my family arrive one by one. Steve's Mercedes pulled in first, then Brinley's Range Rover. Luke walked up from the bus stop, shoulders hunched against the evening chill. My phone buzzed. Samara. Bank called. Everything's approved. You're good to go. Another text followed immediately. Give them hell. The front door opened and Mom appeared, waving everyone inside. I waited until they'd all disappeared before getting out of my car. My hands trembled as I pulled the Blue Haven Properties folder from my bag. Just in case. You're late, Mom said when I walked in. By 2 minutes. Still late. The dining room felt smaller than usual, more crowded with tension. Steve stood by the window typing on his phone. Brinley sat examining her manicure. Luke slouched in his chair, looking everywhere but at me. Where's Tegan? I asked, noticing the lawyer's absence. She'll be here shortly, Steve replied without looking up. Had to grab the final paperwork. Mum cleared her throat. While we wait, Mia, perhaps you'd like to explain your recent interest in the sale. What's to explain? It's my childhood home too. Is that why you scared off 3 potential buyers? Brinley snapped. I didn't scare anyone off. I educated them about the property's value. Steve finally looked up. By claiming your little art projects make the house historic? Actually, a voice came from the doorway. She wasn't wrong about that. We all turned to see Tegan standing there, briefcase in hand. The murals, combined with the original architectural features, do qualify the property for historical consideration, she continued, setting her briefcase on the table, which is why we've received such competitive offers. Speaking of offers, Mom cut in, it's time to make a decision. Tegan pulled out several folders. We have 3 serious contenders, James Harrison at $800,000, Blue Haven Properties at $790, and... We should take James's offer, Steve interrupted. It's the highest, and he's a known quantity. Blue Haven can close faster, Tegan pointed out. Who are they anyway? Brinley asked. Some corporate developer. I held my breath. They're a private investment group, Tegan replied smoothly. Very legitimate. But why are they interested in a family home? Mom pressed. Perhaps they recognize its value, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. And what would you know about it? Steve demanded. More than you think. The doorbell rang, making us all jump. Luke went to answer it. Mr. Harrison, we heard him say. We weren't expecting... James walked into the dining room, looking apologetic. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I needed to revise my offer. My heart stopped. I'm lowering it to $750, he continued. After consulting with my partners, we feel the renovation costs would be too high to justify the original price. $750? Steve sputtered. But you said that was before we got the structural assessment back. James placed a report on the table. The foundation needs work. I fought back a smile. The foundation was fine. Dad had it reinforced 5 years ago, but they wouldn't remember that. This is ridiculous, Steve snapped. We had our own inspection. Done by who? I asked innocently. The same guy who missed the water damage in your condo. Steve's face reddened. Stay out of this, Mia. Why? Afraid I might actually know something you don't. Know what? Mom asked sharply. What aren't you telling us? The room fell silent. This was it, my moment to reveal everything. But looking at their faces, the anger and suspicion, I hesitated. My phone buzzed again. Samara. Remember why you're doing this. I took a deep breath. Maybe we should look more carefully at Blue Haven's offer. Of course you'd say that, Brinley scoffed. You've been sabotaging this sale from the start. Have I? Or have I been the only one trying to protect what Dad built? Don't you dare bring Dad into this, Steve warned. Why not? He's the reason we're all here, isn't he? The reason this house matters. Tegan caught my eye, giving me a slight nod. The Blue Haven offer expires tonight, she announced. We need to decide now. Mum stood up slowly. There's something not right about all this. Mia's interference, this mysterious company. She fixed me with a hard stare. What are you up to? Before I could answer, Luke spoke up from his corner. I think we should accept Blue Haven's offer. Everyone turned to stare at him. Luke, Steve started. No, listen. Luke straightened up. Mia's right. This isn't just about money. And maybe we've been too quick to dismiss her perspective. My throat tightened. In that moment, I almost told them everything. Almost. But then Steve's phone rang, and as he stepped out to take the call, I remembered every dismissal, every exclusion, every time they'd made decisions without me. No. Let them find out when it was too late to stop it. Let them finally see what the black sheep could do. The papers are ready to sign, Tegan announced, spreading documents across the dining room table. Blue Haven Properties' offer has been accepted. Steve paced behind his chair, still fuming from being outvoted. This is a mistake. The vote was fair, Luke said quietly. 3-2. I sat silently, watching my family gather around the table. My stomach churned with a mixture of triumph and terror. In less than an hour, everything would change. Where's the Blue Haven representative? Mom asked, glasses perched on her nose as she examined the papers. Their lawyer will be here shortly, Tegan replied, catching my eye briefly. My phone buzzed. Samara. In position, ready when you are. The doorbell rang right on cue. I'll get it, I said, standing quickly. Samara stood on the porch in a crisp business suit, briefcase in hand, looking nothing like her usual casual self. We'd rehearsed this moment a dozen times. Good evening, she said formally as I led her to the dining room. I'm representing Blue Haven Properties. Steve's eyes narrowed. Don't I know you from somewhere? I don't believe so, Samara replied smoothly, setting her briefcase on the table. Brinley studied her suspiciously. You look familiar. Shall we proceed? Tegan interrupted, shuffling papers. My hands shook as I watched them sign, one by one. Mum's elegant script, Steve's aggressive scrawl, Brinley's looping letters, Luke's hesitant signature. Mia, Mum said sharply, you need to sign as well. You're still technically a stakeholder. I picked up the pen, heart pounding. This was it. The moment of truth. Wait, Luke said suddenly. Something's weird. Everyone froze. What do you mean? Steve demanded. Luke was staring at Samara. I've seen you before, at Mia's art show last month. The room went silent. That's impossible, Brinley said, but uncertainty crept into her voice. Samara met my eyes. A silent question. I gave her a slight nod. Actually, she said, reaching into her briefcase, there's something you should all see. She pulled out another set of documents, the real ones, showing Blue Haven's true ownership. What is this? Mom asked, reaching for them. Don't, I said quietly. Not yet. Let me sign first. Mia, Tegan warned. Are you sure? I picked up the pen again, my signature steady this time. Final. Binding. Now, I said. You can look. Steve grabbed the papers first, his face going pale as he read. This This can't be right. What? Brinley snatched them from him. Her eyes widened. Oh my God. Would someone please explain what's going on? Mom demanded. Luke had gone very still. Mia owns Blue Haven Properties, doesn't she? The silence that followed was deafening. Surprise, I said softly. Mum's hand flew to her chest. You bought the house. Technically, Samara spoke up. She just did. About 30 seconds ago. This is a joke, Steve exploded. It has to be. She can't afford... Dad's trust fund, I cut him off. The one you never knew about. Plus my savings, plus some help from people who actually believe in me. You manipulated us, Brinley accused. Like you've been manipulating me my whole life? I stood up. Excluding me, dismissing me, making decisions about my home without me. Your home? Mum's voice shook. You barely visit. Because you made it clear I wasn't welcome. The words burst out of me. Every time I tried to come back, you found some reason why I didn't belong. Well, guess what? I belong here now, legally, permanently. Steve lunged for the papers, but Tegan swept them up quickly. The sale is final, she said firmly. All signatures are binding. You helped her do this, Brinley accused Tegan. I represented my client, your mother, in selling this house to the highest qualified bidder. Tegan's voice was steel. Everything was done legally. Luke started laughing suddenly, drawing everyone's attention. What's so funny? Steve snapped. Dad would have loved this, Luke said, wiping his eyes. His artistic daughter outsmarting all of us? He'd be proud. Proud, Mom's voice cracked. Of this deception? No, I said quietly, proud that I finally stood up for myself. I pulled a set of keys from my pocket, my keys now, and set them on the table. You have 30 days to vacate, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Unless you'd like to stay and try something new. Try what? Brinley asked bitterly. Being a real family, one that includes everyone. The grandfather clock in the hall chimed 7 times, filling the stunned silence. I'll give you time to think about it, I said, heading for the door. After all, I own the house now. I'm not going anywhere. As I walked out, I heard Luke say softly, Well played, sis, well played. 3 days of silence followed the revelation. 3 days of ignored calls from Steve, angry texts from Brinley, and a single message from Mum. We need to talk. I stood in Dad's old study, running my fingers along his desk, when the front door opened. I didn't turn around. Nice trick, Steve's voice came from the doorway. Using Dad's money against us. Is that what you think I did? What else would you call it? I turned to face him. He looked tired, his usual perfect appearance slightly rumpled. I'd call it protecting his legacy. The one you were ready to sell to the highest bidder. We were being practical. You were being greedy. I moved toward him. 750,000 to destroy everything he built. Everything I added. Those murals aren't just murals, Steve. They're memories. Every single one of them tells a story about this family. He stepped into the study, looking around as if seeing it for the first time. And now what? You're going to kick us all out. That depends on you. The front door opened again. Mum's voice called out, Stephen, are you here? In the study, he answered, not taking his eyes off me. Mum appeared behind him, Brinley and Luke trailing after her. A family ambush, then. Well, I said, leaning against Dad's desk. Gang's all here. This isn't funny, Mia, Brinley snapped. No, I agreed. It's not. Neither was excluding me from family decisions for the past decade. You excluded yourself, Mom stepped forward. Every time you chose your art over what? Law school, the right kind of partner, the proper lifestyle? Over family, she finished quietly. Luke moved to the window, touching the frame I'd painted with climbing vines years ago. Did Dad really leave you that money? Yes. I pulled the trust document from the desk drawer. He knew I'd need it someday. To betray us? Brinley asked bitterly. To save this? I gestured around us. All of this, the house, the memories, the family he tried so hard to hold together. By going behind our backs? Steve challenged. Like you went behind mine, planning to sell without even telling me? That was different. Why? Because you're the responsible one, the successful one? I stepped into the middle of the room. Look around, Steve. Really look. What do you see? He glanced around reluctantly. Dad's study. No, look harder. Luke spoke up suddenly. The bookshelf. You painted those gold leaves on the edges when Dad was sick. Said it would bring some sunshine into the room. The ceiling, Brinley added, surprising me. Those tiny constellations. You did those the night Mom got the all clear from her cancer scare. The window frame, Luke continued, after Dad's first heart attack. Every time this family faced something hard, I said softly, I added something beautiful. Not because I was rebelling, because I was trying to heal us. Mom sank into Dad's old chair, her hand trembling as she touched the desk's surface. The birds, on the corner here. The day of Dad's funeral, I finished, while you were all at the reception. Silence filled the room. So, what now? Steve asked, his voice less hostile. You own the house. You've made your point. Have I? I moved to stand in front of him. My point wasn't about ownership, Steve. It was about belonging, about having a voice in this family. And now you have all the power, Brinley said. No. I pulled an envelope from the desk. Now we all have a choice. I handed the papers to Mom. She read them, her eyes widening. Joint ownership, she whispered. 5 equal shares, I confirmed. One condition. The house stays in the family. No selling. No destroying what we built here. You'd give up control? Steve asked incredulously. I'd share it, like a family should. Luke stepped forward first, taking the pen from my hand. I'm in. Luke, Brinley protested. No, she's right. He signed his name. This is what Dad would have wanted. Mom stood slowly, still holding the papers. All these years, we thought you were running away from family. I was running toward it, I said quietly. You just couldn't see where I was going. She picked up the pen. Mum, Steve warned. Enough, Stephen. She signed her name with a flourish. Your sister just taught us all a lesson about family. The least we can do is learn from it. Brinley and Steve exchanged looks. The murals stay, I said firmly. A ghost of a smile crossed Steve's face. Even the stars in Luke's room? Especially those. He took the pen. Dad always did say you were the clever one. As I watched them sign, I felt something shift in the room, like the house itself was exhaling, settling back into its foundations. We were home, all of us. Finally. A little to the left, Samara called from the bottom of the ladder. No, my left. I adjusted the string of lights along the porch roof, trying not to look down. The autumn breeze carried the scent of Mom's apple pie through the open windows. Perfect, Luke said, stepping back to admire our work, just like when we were kids. The front door creaked open. Are you 3 ever coming inside? Mom asked. The pie's getting cold. Can't rush perfection, I replied, carefully descending the ladder. Inside, Steve and Brinley were arguing over table settings in the dining room. Some things never changed. The formal china, Brinley insisted. For a family dinner, Steve scoffed. It's not just any dinner, Mom interrupted. It's the first one with everyone here in too long. I caught Luke's eye and we both smiled. 2 weeks after the ownership agreement, things were different. Not perfect, but different. Mia, Mom called from the kitchen. Come help me with something. I found her standing by the counter staring at Dad's old recipe box. Remember these? She pulled out a faded index card. Dad's secret ingredient sugar cookies. I touched the card gently. You never let us help make them. He wanted to teach you, she swallowed hard. But I said the kitchen would get too messy. Mom, I was wrong. She pressed the recipe into my hand. About so many things. The front door opened again, and Tegan's voice carried through the house. Special delivery! She appeared in the kitchen doorway holding a familiar wooden frame. Is that, Mom started. Dad's first dollar, I confirmed. From his law practice. I found it in the attic. Along with these, Tegan added, producing a stack of old photos. We gathered around the dining room table, pictures spread out before us. Mom teaching Steve to ride a bike. Brinley's first ballet recital. Luke losing his front teeth. Look at this one, Samara said, holding up a photo of me at my first art show. Dad stood beside me, beaming with pride. I remember that day, Steve said quietly. Dad couldn't stop talking about your talent. Really? I looked at him. You never said... I was jealous, he admitted. He never looked at my law degree the way he looked at your paintings. Brinley picked up another photo, all of us on the porch, surrounded by my earliest attempts at holiday decorating. We used to be happy, she murmured. All of us. Together. We can be again, Luke said. That's the whole point, isn't it? Mom touched the recipe card I still held. Maybe we could make these together. The kitchen will get messy, I warned, but I was smiling. Good, she said firmly. It should. As we moved to the kitchen, Steve caught my arm. Hey, about the house. Steve, we don't need to... No, let me finish. He ran a hand through his hair. You were right, about everything. Dad built this place for all of us. I forgot that somewhere along the way. From the kitchen came the sound of laughter. Mom showing Luke how to measure flour, Brinley and Samara debating frosting techniques. I think we all forgot some things, I said, but we're remembering now. The timer dinged for Mom's pie. Outside, the porch lights twinkled in the gathering dusk. Through the window, I could see the old oak tree where Dad used to push us on the tire swing. Mia, Brinley called. Come show us how to make the frosting swirls like Dad did. You remember those? I asked, surprised. I remember everything, she said softly. I just didn't want to admit it. As I demonstrated the technique, Mom slipped an arm around my waist. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For fighting for us, even when we didn't deserve it. The kitchen was warm with bodies and laughter, flour dusting every surface. Steve rolled up his sleeves to help, his tie forgotten somewhere. Luke snapped pictures, promising to start a new family album. This is what home feels like, Samara said, watching us all. No, I corrected her, looking around at my messy, imperfect, beautiful family. This is what family feels like. Outside, the porch lights continued to twinkle, welcoming anyone who might pass by. Inside, we were learning to be a family again, one sugar cookie at a time. And somewhere I knew Dad was smiling. Not because I'd won, but because we'd all finally remembered what he'd known all along, that a house is just walls and windows until you fill it with love, even if that love comes with arguments about china patterns, messy kitchens, and the occasional family drama. Because that's what families do. They fight, they forgive, they come home, and sometimes, if they're lucky, they remember how to love each other along the way.